Hi, good afternoon, everyone. And we're extremely pleased to have our eminent guest, Dr. P.S. Punia, with us today to talk about all the new initiatives happening at income tax, especially, and the government, and what the future holds for not only our sector, but I guess the entire sector when it comes to our great country, especially on income tax. So a lot of reforms have taken place, I would say, in the last few years, and this is one more step in that direction. And we thought, what better occasion than IIJS Virtual to have such a webinar for all our viewers, because I guess whether it's the retailers or manufacturers, we've in our sector had challenges, I would say, on how income tax assessment, and various, whether it's transfer pricing, all aspects of taxation. There have been challenges. It's gotten better for sure in the last few years, and we are all very optimistic that the best is yet to come, and it's going to get easier for us to do business in India. We have as our panelist moderator Dr. Suresh Surana, who again needs no introduction, I guess, in our industry. Everyone knows him extremely well. He probably has, in-depth, as much in-depth knowledge of the income tax and all other, I guess, taxation matters in our industry, especially better than, I guess, anybody else. So over to you, Dr. Punia.
Thank you so much, Colin Shaji and Dr. Suresh Surana. And thank you for all the participants for giving me this opportunity to interact with you and to introduce you to the new initiative which our Honorable Prime Minister announced to the nation on 13th of August of this year, which in our terminology is called the Faceless Income Tax Assessment Scheme, or चेहरा रहित कर निर्धारण की जो scheme आई है उसके बारे में I'll basically lay out a few of the outlines, and then I will welcome your questions on that. Let me first to lay out what was the motivation for doing this. Let me start with one anecdote and one fable. And it is strange to start a conversation which is on as boring a topic as income tax by a fable. But I think it connects very well with what we are doing. And I come from Northwest India. And in Northwest India, there's an old fable which runs about a very famous wrestler. And he was the best known wrestler. Nobody could defeat him. And his best possession was a horse. So one night, a thief came to steal the horse. And when the thief was stealing the horse, the wrestler got up. And he got up and he went and he caught the thief and he tried to wrestle the thief. As the luck would have it, thief also was very strong and he put the wrestler down. And the wrestler was lying चारों खाने चित नीचे. तो उसके दिमाग में एक बात आई कि देखो एक तो सारी reputation खराब हो जाएगी और एक घोड़ा भी चला जाएगा. So he had, as I say, a thought. The thought was that lying down on the ground, he shouted that देखो मैं तो नौकर हूँ पर गामा जो पहलवान है वो जाग गया है, वो आ जाएगा, अगर आ गया तो देखो तुम्हारा क्या होगा. The thief heard that and he left the wrestler Gama on the ground, left the horse and ran away. So now what is the basic core theme here of this fable? That reputation is far bigger than actual action. So this is what, to some extent, is what income tax is trying to do, that we will not come to you, we will not trouble you as far as possible, we would try and reduce the compliance costs as far as possible, but I will let you know beforehand what I know about you. So when you sit down to file your tax returns, you already are made aware of the information of your financial transactions, which are in the knowledge of the income tax department. So that is the first and the foremost component of the faceless assessment scheme, is that yes, we would let you know what we know about you so that you can become voluntarily compliant on the basis of that. And the second is, which I said, it is based on an anecdote. And this anecdote is when I was doing my PhD in the University of California in Los Angeles. So we were a group of middle-level bureaucrats there from very many different countries, starting from Japan, England, Italy, and all those. So, during personal interaction, what I got to know was that if you chart our countries on a development perspective, then Japan probably out of that group of 21 countries was probably the most advanced. And if you spoke to those middle-level bureaucrats or civil servants like I was, what came out very clearly there was that up to 95% of the actions of a Japanese bureaucrat are done according to what we call in public management the SOPs, the standard operating processes. So every action of the bureaucrat or the civil servant or the tax administrator, whatever you may call him, was basically laid out in very clear-cut instructions, actions, activities to be taken, and 95% of the scenarios were taken into account. 5% to 7% was the discretion given, and whosoever went away from those standard operating processes, his auditable trail was left on the system. So once again, it was a great learning, I think, from that system is that a system which is humongous like the income tax department is, where it is to be implemented right across the country, it requires that most of the actions which are taken by the tax officials are consistent. They are laid out by clear-cut rules, and anybody, any official or officer, if he has to differ from those standard rules and procedures, has to leave an auditable trail which can subsequently be accessed and seen that why did he differ from the standard thing. So that is the second component of the faceless assessment scheme, which underlies, which is the foundational part of it. Let me repeat again for you in short. First is that on the basis of the financial transactions data which we are collecting, we are expecting a far higher level of voluntary compliance from you. And second is that from the officer's side, we are expecting a lot more consistency because we're going to lay out their actions according to standard operating processes. And herein I will take you back to the address of the Honorable Prime Minister on the 13th of August. When he introduced the faceless tax assessment system, he talked about a charter of taxpayers' rights and obligations. So that ties up with this scheme itself, because along with the lower compliance cost or no harassment comes an obligation also. And that obligation is that taxpayer in the normal circumstances would be honest, would be informed, would respond, would pay his taxes. And what is equally important is that he is well appraised of the responses which are filed on his behalf before the income tax office. So that is how the overarching scheme is viewed. Now, what is in the real term the faceless assessment scheme is, as the name itself says it all, that any taxpayer would no longer need to go to the tax office. There will be no local jurisdictional assessing officer. The assessing officer has been put behind a computer screen and system generated queries which will come to you. So the tax official has become faceless. He will only be certain queries which will come to you, certain responses which will be expected from you, and on the basis of those queries and responses, a tax assessment would be framed. Now, there can be a lot of apprehensions on that our system has always been of, the old bhaichara, that we go, each one of us can go and approach. We can, by approach, I don't mean approach of that kind, but go and represent my case. And there are a lot of things which can be explained face to face. So the presumption here is that there will not be any need of face-to-face interaction because our queries would be data-driven. They would come to you from the data which we have collected from you. So there will be very few disputes which will arise in tax assessment. Behind the screen, what the tax department has done is that it has unbundled the assessment process. By unbundling, I mean is that first one single officer used to decide what is your tax liability. Now a team of officers first would look at your tax returns, form an opinion, ask you questions. Then there will be another set of officers team which would make any further query which is required to be made. Then it would go up to a review, the third group of officers who would filter and look at it, whether what has been done is appropriate or adequate. And in case there are some disputes, legal disputes, there will be a backroom office, what we call the technical unit, so that a lot of disputes do not arise at all. So that in nutshell is what the faceless scheme is all about. That our aim is that we reduce the cost of compliance, we reduce your visit to the tax office, we reduce your need to know the officers to get your work done. And behind that lies a lot of automation, a lot of data collection, and a lot of very pointed and focused queries which will be asked from you. I once again thank you for this opportunity, and now I invite any questions which you have, which I can respond to them. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Punia. I think it is great to have you, who is leading this historical initiative, which has been launched by the Prime Minister. I think the entire tax assessments are set for a complete transformation. I think the whole understanding of the business community about the tax assessment is that typically you get a notice, and then you are attending personally or through authorized representative, and then some information is given on complex issues, some submissions are made, and the jurisdictional officer has a deeper understanding of the business and of the SSE. Now, in this new system, what you think as a taxpayer or as a businessman one should take precautions that one is not caught on the wrong footing or he misses out few things, like for example the way of the notices being served, the way one should be able to respond to the answers. What do you expect from the taxpayer side to be prepared with this major change?
Yeah, that's a very good question, Dr. Surana, and these apprehensions are very normal to have. Now the thing is that let's again reiterate what I'm trying to say. Look, the normal scrutiny assessments, as we call, which when your case was picked up for scrutiny, used to happen mostly manually first because of some information which has flowed to the assessing officer, and then the whole Pandora box of inquiries are open. First and foremost, what is being conceived in the faceless assessment is that there will be a data set of your financial transactions, your financial history with us. There will be your tax return before us. This will be put through a risk management analysis, a risk analysis. And that risk analysis basket will be dynamic. It will change. It may be industry specific also, as you say, like each industry has some specific issues. So on the basis of that risk analysis can be that, okay, you are showing an income of say 8 lakhs only in your tax return, but your cash deposits and cash withdrawals of last year are about 50 lakhs. So that is a red flag. So there is a certain weight which will be assigned to that risk. And then we'll look at the whole risk basket and pick up those cases for scrutiny. Most of the cases under this scheme are going to be limited scrutiny. Limited scrutiny means where there is a clear discrepancy between the financial transactions data which we have already analyzed and your tax return. So the idea is that yes, what you should be prepared is that what you will be asked are specific questions, specific replies to be given. Specific replies to be given with whatever evidence which you have with you to be filed at the first go, so that the minimum time is taken in finalizing your case. In rare cases, yes, there will be broader scrutiny. There also, the scrutiny would mostly be limited to those issues which have been red flagged in our analysis. So our idea first is that on the basis of whatever digitization which we have done in the department, as well as whatever digitization has happened in the economy, we would be able to pick up a lot of the variations which otherwise we were missing out. Let me give you an example, for instance. And this is not to scare you, but this is just to kind of make you aware. We, on an average year, receive about 3.5 crores of financial transactions information. Normally, we frame about 3 lakhs of assessments, and a lot of this information of 3 crores of financial transactions information used to go without much scrutiny, without much analysis. Now, what we have put in place is that we will analyze this whole transactions. That is but that's background. No one will be asked questions on that, but we will be doing analysis of that. So what you've got to be aware of is that a lot of your financial transactions are leaving an auditable trail, which the tax department has already reached. So whatever information the tax department is showing you, or wherever the digital imprint has been left behind by you, presume that it is in the knowledge of the income tax department. The questions will only be on that. So be aware of what your transactions have been, what is their imprint, whether my legitimately earned tax income explains all those. That should be your concern. And after that, a pointed reply if any question is raised. I hope I have met your question. You can go ahead and ask anything further you feel like.
I think that is very helpful. So I think one very important point which all the taxpayers also must take notice, that the income tax notices, orders, and requests for information will all come on the registered address or the registered email ID electronically. And also they need to check their portal regularly, because otherwise there is a possibility that the earlier physical system of receiving notices or other means of communication are not there. So people should not miss out on the electronic communications because the person has left or some email IDs are changed.
Thanks. That's a very important point which I should have emphasized also. And I sometimes when you are in the bubble, you presume that this is known. So thank you for adding that. Yes. The contact will be, as said, it will be totally anonymous. You would not know. You will only receive a notice which will say the National E-Assessment Center, which is based in Delhi. Beyond that, there will be nothing. Who's the officer or where it is going? It is possible that you have filed your tax return in Delhi. The team of officers who would be looking at it would be sitting in Calcutta, and the team of officers who would be reviewing it may be sitting in Chennai, and the team who finally in fact ends up doing some more verification, online verification, maybe in Kochi. So the system is devised in that fashion. So yes, it is electronic. You have to file pointed replies. What our initial pilot has shown is that in India, email penetration is yet at times get with a time lag. I do not look at my email for 15 days. So what as a learning, what we have taken from guys like Dr. Surana is that we are now building an application by which you will be getting your reminders on your SMS also. So do update your telephone numbers. We would be sending you SMSs. It will be like the bank sends you for a reminder or a check is being cleared. So we would be contacting you in your SMS also. So be as Dr. Surana says, update your email, check your email, and also be conscious of that if an SMS has come, there is something which is going on behind it. It is not just an SMS which has been generated out of nothing. It will be a system generated SMS, but there will be a cause behind it, and it will say so that go to the portal and have a look. We are developing that system, and it is very soon is getting rolled out, so that SMS contact also is made.
I think that would be very helpful, sir. The other major question is that I think earlier you alluded to this point, that when the information will be sought, it will be specific. It is not that they will ask for general access to all the books of account or the IT system of the company. If you can clarify on that, because there is a lot of apprehension in terms of the nature of the data to be made available.
Yeah. So means I am not ruling out that it will never be asked, but it will be, let me put it like that, in very, very rare circumstances. In most of the circumstances where your case is up for scrutiny also, it will be precise, data-driven question and answer. So the our endeavor is, that is how the cost of compliance, which is the directive which is given to us by Honorable Prime Minister, is that reduce the cost of compliance of the taxpayer, or the ease of the doing business. Otherwise, what is the ease of doing business if I am again asking you to produce those details which have very little relevance for my tax assessment? So this is a step which is going to be very closely monitored. That is why a team-based analysis has been put forward also. And I must share one thing with you also. Surana Saab, of course, would know about it. What we are doing is, from now onwards, as and when a assessment cycle is completed, you will be getting a feedback form from us. And since the assessment is framed anonymously, you don't know who's the officer doesn't know that it is so and so. So please feel free to file. We want to build that learning loop so that कि हमें आपके अनुभव से ये पता लग सके कि हमने स्कीम तो बनाई लेकिन उसमें ये त्रुटियां आ गई हैं. So every assessment order will be accompanied by your feedback कि मुझे मेरा काम 2 महीने में हो सकता था लेकिन 6 महीने लग गए. दीजिए ऐसी फीडबैक. हमारा मोटिव ये है कि उन चीजों को खत्म किया जाए. अगर दो महीने में असेसमेंट टैक्स, इनकम टैक्स असेसमेंट खत्म होती तो 6 महीने क्यों लगे? We will analyze our system, improve it, and ask for those things from you also. So that is our motive.
सर, एक जो एरिया जो बिजनेस कम्युनिटी के लिए काफी पेनफुल एक्सपीरियंस रहा है टैक्स डिपार्टमेंट के साथ में, कि जब समन्स इशू होते हैं और समन्स में जब फिजिकल स्टेटमेंट रिकॉर्डिंग होता है तो कई बार उसमें काफी स्ट्रेसफुल कंडीशंस हो जाती है काफी. तो क्या हम ये समझें कि ये जो नए स्ट्रक्चर में वो समन्स का दौर खत्म हो गया?
Again, let me with a caveat, let me say, so it is not that कि समन्स नहीं हुए या खत्म हुए. समन्स इशू होने की नौबत तब आएगी जब ऐसी डिस्क्रिपेंसी दिखेगी कि वो बहुत ही बड़ी है. देखिए बात क्या होती थी, जो summons, large number of summons used to get issued because there was no check and balance. Now here there is a check and balance readily. First, in the assessment process itself, the range head, जिसको 10 साल का experience है assessment का, he is involved from day one, not from any later stage. So he is part and parcel of the process from day one. And second is that every action of the assessing officer, the assessment unit we call it now, not the assessing officer, no longer exists. Assessment unit is leaving an auditable trail, and a very close check is to be kept on this, that अगर मुझे राम की स्टेटमेंट का कोई ताल्लुक नहीं दिखता असेसमेंट में और उसको समन इशू हो गए हैं, तो एक सवाल जरूर सिस्टम पे उठाएगा कि आपने राम को समन क्यों किया. क्योंकि अब ये ऐसा नहीं है कि ये फाइल में पड़ा रह गया, ये तो सिस्टम में मुझे भी विजिबल होगा कि राम को समन गया, एक नहीं 2 गए. So there is a deterrence which is built in the system. First of all, the occasion to issue summons will be far less, and second is, if it is issued, then the officer issuing it will be held accountable for his actions.
Sir, that is very heartening to know, I think, because this is one of the probably thing which can build a lot of confidence and deficit, which has been there otherwise in terms of in terms of taxpayer compliance. So sometimes there are very complex issues, and despite the best effort, the written submissions may not be adequate to explain the position. So is there an option of video conferencing or a personal hearing at all possible, or that is completely ruled out?
No, we will grant you a video conference access. Of course, since it is anonymous, the face of the officer you will not know whom you are really talking to, but you will be talking to an assessment team. An opportunity would be given, but an opportunity would not be given in every case. An opportunity would be given where there is an issue which is substantial, an issue of difference in facts primarily. If it is primarily a difference of judicial opinion, then maybe opportunity may not be given even in those cases where there is a dispute. But mind you, what we have done is what was always an area of कि natural justice का principle follow नहीं करते, assessing officer opportunity नहीं देते, यहाँ पे it is laid out, हमारी functionality में built है कि अगर if I am differing from your returned income, then a show cause notice and a draft assessment order has to be served on you. So it is not that you will not get an opportunity. You will get adequate opportunity. My system will not permit my officer to frame an assessment in which show cause notice has not been issued, where a draft assessment order has not been served on the assessee. So rest assured that all the requirements of principle of natural justice would be met. It will not be face-to-face interaction. वो तो वैसे भी कोरोना के टाइम में face-to-face interaction ना ही करें तो अच्छा है. तो वो उस पे जरूर है कि क्योंकि we are building an anonymous system, so you will not have the opportunity of a kind of physical interaction. But other than that, you will have every opportunity to go and represent. If there is a substantial difference of facts, if there is a large difference in your and our perception, then a video conference opportunity will be provided at your convenience. And we are building a system also on that. Initially, those people who may not have the video conference, we will be providing this opportunity in our Ask centers also very soon. They can go to Aikar Seva Kendra, where if they don't have this facility, otherwise the system is very simple. As simple as today's conference thing is that along with the when you will ask for it, a message will come on your SMS and email that click onto this. You don't need to download any of the software, then you can interact with the officers.
So now talking about the taxpayers charter, since we are having limited time, this has been given a statutory recognition now in the law itself. So in terms of, I think I would just like to talk about a couple of things. One is there is a specific mention of data privacy and then confidentiality. Because we find many times when there is action, survey or search or other action, it is already known in the media or elsewhere that what has happened. So do we expect, are there any specific measures being taken that it does not go into public domain before full action is completed?
Point very well appreciated, Dr. Surana, and a very well made point. It is my data. We look at your data in a fiduciary capacity, and we have absolutely no right of that it should go anywhere. That is why the government is so conscious of it that they have put it as a part of the legal process itself. Certain duties have been cast on you, certain duties have been cast on us, and now since it has legal enforceability, it will definitely be enforced. So rest assured on that. If any black sheep on either of the two sides, from your side or my side, breaks this covenant which both of us are made to sign, then yes, there will be consequences. So rest assured, your data confidentiality shall be maintained. You have all the rights under the charter to agitate if any break of those rights and obligations happen. But then, as I said, there is a duty also, which is pretty clear duty that you will respond, you will be filing informed responses, you will pay your taxes. That also comes along with it. So on one side, you've been given all those rights so that the cost of compliance comes down, consistency comes in decision making, the discretion of the officer is reduced, and then along with it comes the additional duties to you. So that is how the whole system is planned.
So one of the major things this gem and jewelry industry has been facing is normally a lot of surveys and search were initiated by the assessing units earlier. Now under the new system, how it will operate? Any survey or search action, how would it operate?
Survey and search powers remain, but the checks and balances have increased. So of course the anonymous system of the faceless system teams will not be doing any of those things. If it has to be done, it will be done through the investigation wing. But again, in a data-driven system, the plus side of it is that yes, I know a lot more about you. Then along with it comes where is the need to taking coercive adversarial action, and which is as adversarial that I have to come and sit in your office or your residence for days to come. So there is a very strong presumption here that unless and until you commit offense of the kind which is costing the society a huge amount, both in terms of money, finance, exchequer, as an example, none of these actions would take place. That is a presumption in this whole scheme.
Sir, one final question. Any words of wisdom from you to the taxpayers? Since you are so much leading this whole initiative, and I think you are knowing the future much more than probably what people can see right now. So,
look, the message is very clear, and the Prime Minister made it very clear. It is honoring the honest first. And we are facilitating you to become to some extent more honest by letting you know beforehand. This time you will be guiding your clients also. As you would go to file your tax return, the 26 AS which will come visible to you will have so many more details. It will show you all the financial transactions which are already available with us. So the emphasis is that as an honest taxpayer, there should be nothing for you to fear. And in case you are forgetting any of those transactions which you have undertaken, we make you aware of it so that what you file is a true and complete return of my income. And once you have done that, सिराने पे अपना सिर रखिए, आराम से सोइए, कोई आपको तंग करने नहीं आएगा, कोई आपके पास जो आपका लोकल अफसर है, जो पहले कई बार होता था कि मुझे डर लगता है उससे, वो डर सिर्फ उनको लगेगा where they have hidden their transactions and our data systems have already found or will find those transactions. So the digital trail जो आपके transactions की है, उसको डिपार्टमेंट far more rigor से ढूंढ रहा है और वो आगे आगे और आसान होती जा रही हैं. And I want to make it clear to your clients also that presume it that वो पहले वाली बात नहीं है कि डिपार्टमेंट पोस्टमार्टम करेगा. हमें रियल टाइम में इंफॉर्मेशन आपके बारे में बहुत सारी आ रही है. कुछ मामलों में मैं आपसे 3 स्टेप आगे हूँ इंफॉर्मेशन गैदरिंग में. सो आपकी इंफॉर्मेशन मेरे पास बहुत है. तो अगर आप पहले से ऑनेस्ट वॉलंटरी डिस्क्लोजर करके आ रहे हैं तो सिराने पे सिर रखिए और सो जाइए. लेकिन अगर आपने ऐसी कुछ ट्रेल छोड़ दी हैं, फाइनेंशियल ट्रांजैक्शंस हैं जिनको आप नहीं एक्सप्लेन करते, at some point of the time you will get a notice and you will have to face consequences then. So आदमी के लिए बहुत खुशी का चीज है, लेकिन जो फाइनेंशियल ट्रांजैक्शंस है उनके बारे में कॉन्शियस रहिए, रिकॉर्ड रखिए, उनको अपने रिटर्न में रिफ्लेक्ट कीजिए.
I think what you are saying is very important, that doing a self audit before filing. So just look at 26 AS or the new AIS form, which has a lot of information. Look at your own financial transactions and business transactions. Make sure you're fully compliant rather than being discovered by somebody else. So I think with that, since we are running out of time, sir, I would like to thank you on behalf of the Gem and Jewelry Export Promotion Council for this wonderful interactive session. Also, I would like to compliment you and look forward that India's tax administration will become one of the most progressive and tax savvy and will be, I think, much more business friendly. That is what we hope for. I will hand over to Mr. Colin Shara.
Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Surana, for that wonderful moderation. And Dr. Punia, thank you for your time and wonderful replies. Very encouraging to learn all the new initiatives being done at your end. And let's hope that this truly becomes faceless and easy like we are envisaging today. Thank you. Thank you, sir, for coming.
Thank you so much. I end on one note that take pride as an Indian. This is the first fully faceless tax assessment system being implemented anywhere in the world.
Oh,
and I have checked this made sure, went to the National Council of Applied Economic Research to check for me. I wanted to learn from best practices which are followed anywhere in the world. And both the IMF and the and National Council of Applied Economic Research came that you are the pioneer, you would be making the best practices which can be followed from anywhere in the world. So please, let's collaboratively come together and make this scheme a success. It is a wonderful vision. I hope you and I can live up to the promise which it contains. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Wonderful.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.